Welcome to today's episode of The Growth Zone. I am Christian Bartsch. What is the core benefit of listening to this show? Business leaders in corporate and privately held companies gain insights into trends and strategies that provide them with a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Each episode focuses on areas such as marketing, sales, innovation, or funding that is absolutely critical to the growth of companies, whether they are startups or corporate global players. Where management needs to juggle the challenges of market entries or knowing how to navigate the uncertainty of disruptive developments, mind feeding is where clarity evolves and helps solving organizational challenges. For those who listen to the entire episode, I have a special surprise gift. I'm also working on some great guests that are industry leaders in management, innovation, and marketing. And we will be talking in the future much more about the important trends that are affecting the way we manage our companies in the demand to being sustainable, more environmentally and socially friendly, and becoming more empathic leaders. So, let's get started on today's topic. So, I'm here today with Childress, and we're going to be talking today about this topic, the new model for transforming customer acquisition with the intersection between paid search, value-based bidding and automation, data science, and performance creative at scale. So, before I go on and before Paris starts informing us about all the newest things. So Paris is a performance marketing agency founder. He has as well his own podcast and is a ex-Googler, a former Google employee, and is focused as well on helping SaaS companies scale their products and their business. So Paris, what's coming into the market, what's changing, what's new with all these opportunities that we've got with customer acquisition and the new technology?
Well, thank you. First of all, thanks, Christian, for having me on the show. The topic is about transforming acquisition marketing. So I want to start by clarifying that the solution that I'm going to dive into here really relates to where most SaaS companies spend the majority of their marketing budgets, which is on new customer acquisition. So the solution is about new customer acquisition. And the model is really the intersection of three types of activity that have traditionally lived in either in different departments within a company or in different agencies, if it's an agency world. So you have a performance marketing, which is at its core, it's about mastering advertising platforms like Google and Facebook and LinkedIn ads. And that is one of the pillars to this model. The second is data science. And data science has typically not been a function that has been too involved with marketing in the past. And I think now that's changing. So data science is the second pillar. And the third pillar is creative at scale. And by creative at scale, what we mean there is the creative that can keep up the pace with the massive requirements of these types of campaigns with rapid iterative testing. And so this is not a creative that is typically coming out of a creative agency, a traditional creative agency, but it's more of a really rapid fire approach. So these three things have typically been separate from each other, and I think that they now need to come together under one single roof to yield the best results for acquisition marketing, particularly for SaaS companies.
Mm-hmm. So you practically have like one team and with all different skills all together rapidly building, creating, and firing it out and testing, optimizing.
Yeah, well, essentially there are three teams here that are working together. There's the performance marketing team, and these are people that are experts in, let's say, Google ads and Facebook ads. Second team is a data science team, and they're not necessarily skilled at marketing, but they can build algorithms. Particularly, they can use machine learning on first-party data, do things like predictive lifetime value modeling. And then the third team is a creative team, and that creative team is also, they have the skills that you would expect around video building and Adobe and all those skills that a designer has. But they're able to produce at much higher volumes for rapid iterative testing. So creative team, data science team, and the performance marketing team all coming together under one roof.
And they are then all focused, for instance, on one particular market, like let's say West Coast, East Coast, Germany, UK, and so on. When you're doing these projects, or is it very extremely broad regionally?
Most of the time, this is very broad in terms of targeting. It could be throughout the US, or it could be globally, or Europe. The key is to have a lot of data coming in. So the solution itself that we're working on is called predictive lifetime value. And what we're doing there is we're using customers' first-party data. So that's data that, let's say, lives in the CRM or in other systems. And we're trying to build a model using machine learning that will predict the lifetime value of a new user very, very soon after they sign up for the product. And the reason we're doing that, and you could think that predicting lifetime value could have lots and lots of positive use cases, but the use case that we're concerned with here is transforming that predictive lifetime value into a conversion event and importing that conversion event into Google Ads so that Google Ads can do so-called value-based bidding against that conversion event which is predicting the lifetime value of a new user. And so that is the solution. And when we talk about the new model and these three different teams, this is all really built around the ability to take a client's first-party data and transform it into, or to build a machine learning model that can predict lifetime value and then bring that into Google Ads. And then that, of course, needs also a lot of creative support.
Yeah. And then practically it's like instead of just saying the clicks and then say, okay, this is bringing us more customers, you're actually looking more towards as well, what does the customer buy eventually? Is he actually using it, or is it falling out again? Because you want to, of course, have customers who buy the most and stay as well, and not just drop off like after 2-3 months and then they're gone again. Because this wasn't a fit for them, or they were overwhelmed or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of the modeling is about predicting the churn rate, the future churn rate. So if a user, let's say a user who comes in and signs up for a free trial, if they're going to be churning out of the trial, or they might be churning 1 or 2 months into their life cycle, they will have a very low lifetime value versus someone else who might come in and immediately heavily engage with the product. And those engagement signals, that behavior of heavy usage and habitual usage, even in the first, say, 7 days, that can be highly predictive of a user who will not churn and who will stick around perhaps for a year or maybe multiple years. And that type of a user has a very high lifetime value. And if we're able to predict it within those 7 days based on the user's behavior, then we can train Google to bid very, very differently to acquire user A versus user B. And we can eliminate tons and tons of wasted spend, and we can direct Google Ads spend on the high value users. So effectively, it's using machine learning to train Google's own machine learning bidding algorithms to bid in a way that maximizes the predicted lifetime value, as opposed to the way that most SaaS companies are doing acquisition marketing in Google Ads today, which is they're bidding on the basis of a fixed target cost per acquisition, which is assuming that all the users on average are going to be worth about the same. But the problem with that is that you're almost always going to be either overpaying for a user that will churn, or you're underpaying, or there's an opportunity cost for the acquisitions that you've missed by not bidding aggressively enough for the very high value users. And this solves for that.
Yeah, then you've got more targeted, and the quality output is much higher than just hoping somehow this is working and this is not working, or this is better, which actually you've got data behind it.
Yes, it's driven by your own customer first party data. And this is really, really important because in about a year from now, Google will phase out third party cookie tracking altogether. And third party cookies for really the last 20 years has underpinned successful digital marketing because third party cookies is what allows Google and other ad platforms to track a user as they go around the Chrome browser or on YouTube videos, Google search. That third party cookie has really been one of the basis of the return on ad spend. When that goes away, there's going to be a massive gap in data, missing data. And this solution is really filling that gap with first party data, the data that is completely owned and controlled by the brand. And it's leveraging that in order to try to predict a future value at the time of acquisition.
And so the data is literally the data that's in the, let's say, in the SaaS software that knows the client, what it's doing, and you then relate it to this kind of users. Or you know at least where he came from, because you know which ads you were running, you know when you run it, when did he sign up, and so on.
Yep, yeah. I mean, but it goes even beyond that because you're also observing the user's behavior after they sign up. So imagine that you go into let's say a CRM product that you like or project management tool, and you sign up for a free trial. If you sign up for that trial and then you don't log in for the next 7 days, you don't use it or do anything, most likely you're not going to start paying after your trial is over. You've probably already given up on it and you've moved on. But if you're doing if you're logging in multiple times a day and you're building things in that new CRM, you're inviting your coworkers into that, and also maybe you're using certain features that correlate highly with profitable users. Well, then even in those first few days, those signals can be a very strong predictor that you have a high lifetime value, and that is something that machine learning can model and predict. And so that's the data that we're really after, is the product usage data.
Yeah, and the performance creative is then, of course, testing out different kind of images, text, and so on, videos, and to see what gets the people's attention, because that's the most difficult thing to get nowadays.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in order to make this work, you need a massive amount of creative, because what you're doing with predicting the lifetime value uniquely for every user is you're almost creating an infinite number of micro audiences. I mean, every single user becomes their own audience in a way, their own micro audience, and each person has. I mean, you need a lot of creative to try to match with so many different audiences. Because really, the right way to do the creative testing is that you first define all the audiences that you can possibly come up with, and then you need to provide unique creative to each of those audiences. And within that, you've got to do A/B testing. So you actually need to have different variants and versions for every audience. So it requires really a lot of speed to market, and not an obsession with perfection, but rather with a constant testing.
Yeah, and then of course, as you say, you have to automate everything. It's partly a whole cycle of data and response and adapting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as you mentioned as well before, it's not only about the creative, it's using the data, getting the data, but as well, once Google has removed these third-party cookies, of course, Google has more or less developed their own solution to compete with Apple, who, of course, have now blocked more or less all these signals that, of course, people like Facebook loved to use to create huge revenue, and Facebook is now literally falling down the stock value. But do you see still a capability when you run ads of advertising with this kind of system as well, advertising on Facebook or Google? Which platforms do you see the biggest strength?
I think right now that Google Ads is in the best position for this, particularly because, well, Apple has severely limited the ability to track, and Apple is not an ad platform. So even though they have Apple search ads, it's not anything at the scale of Google or Facebook. So where we see the strongest application right now with this solution of predicting lifetime value is with Google Ads, because with Google Ads, you can import the predicted LTV as a conversion event with a unique value. And it's more complicated to do that now with Facebook. And I do think Facebook will be the next step. But right now, Google Ads is the clearest use case for this.
Yeah, and when you think of it, Google Ads is typically people who are already searching for a solution for a product. In contrast to Facebook, where people are not actively searching, they're consuming, and then suddenly see this product XYZ, and then they decide, hey, I'll try this out. I'm anyway looking for a better product, a CRM system or a desktop management system or whatever kind of system.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when you look at data science and all these things, when you are hiring, for instance, people who are doing all these different things, especially data science, they must have special skills and knowledge that they fit as well into your teams that you have in order to get the outcomes that your clients want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Most data scientists have not spent a lot of time working within marketing teams. And it is a big shift for them. And the data scientist on our team was coming from the insurance world, and he didn't have any experience with marketing. So it took a little while for him to understand even a lot of the basics of digital marketing. But once he started to pick those things up, he became extremely effective, because it is important that even the data scientists who would be building, let's say, a machine learning model for predicting lifetime value, they still need to understand the whole objective around this. What are we trying to do? The reason we're doing this is so that we can use this as an imported conversion event for Google, and that we can activate value-based bidding on that basis. And so that Nikolai is our data scientist. He needs to understand beyond the scope of his own work, but what success looks like, and what the bigger project goal is.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you think of it, so many trainings and courses exist as well for data scientists, but most of them are actually focused on finance. And that's main of things, or the kind of artificial intelligence for robotics and that kind of things, but not really for marketing. That's a real niche. So he has now practically become one of the very few who actually are experts in this particular field. And that must be quite a good competitive advantage for you as well, and for your clients, of course.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Yeah, I don't think there are many data scientists with as much marketing experiences as Nikolai has on our team.
Yeah, and that's so good, because I read you've got like $20 million ad spend per year, or
Approximately, yes, that we manage for our clients.
yeah, that's a good big amount when you think, and it's all mostly SaaS companies that you're handling.
Correct.
Yeah, then you've got quite an interesting portfolio of products, because when you think most SaaS companies have B2B environment, yes, some have B2C, of course, as well. But how is your clientele? Is it mostly B2B, or are they B2C?
Most of them are B2B. We have a couple that are B2C, but mostly B2B.
Yeah, and that's of course a bit of a different audience, with I think, because they're buying for the company a SaaS solution, in contrast to a consumer who just wants to do something or often wants it for free and doesn't want to pay. In contrast to a business client, he wants to buy. He understands that, of course, if he wants to have something really good, he has to spend money. But at the end, he has to as well make sure he's bought the right product. So otherwise, he puts all the effort to put all the data in the system, and then notices that the CRM system or the logistics system or shipping system or whatever it does is not a good fit for the business model of the company itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you must be advising as well your clients a lot as well how to improve as well that all these elements, not only of the ads but as well then actually the experience of the person who clicks on the ad to sign up and to keep them there as well from a marketing perspective.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this goes back to the fundamentals of a good experience, which is that when a user goes and searches for something with specific intent, they're best served with a landing page that exactly answers that question.
Mm.
So I think these fundamentals are still very much important to provide that great experience. So that's where the creative comes in, Christian, because I mean everything that goes into a landing page is some form of creative. It's headlines, copy, it's videos and interactive creative images, and so all of that experience has to also really match the user's expectation after they click.
Yeah, and every platform where you advertise has a different context. Like Google is a lot text based, and Facebook is text, video, images, and that. But do you, when you advertise on Google, do you just use text, or do you use other kind of creative options that Google
Well,
offers?
we use a lot of what we're using now beyond paid search, which is only text ads, is something called Performance Max. And a Performance Max campaign is a single campaign type that brings together all of the creative, the entire spectrum of creative across YouTube, Google Display Network, paid search, the also Gmail ads are there, and the Google Discover feed, which is also a really interesting emerging set of inventory. So everything is merged into a single campaign, and you give Google tons and tons of creative variants to work with. And then Google will structure your ads across all their different properties, across YouTube and display and Gmail and Discover feed, in a way that tries to maximize your goal. So if your goal is to say, and let's take the example of PLTV, the predictive LTV. If you give Google the goal of giving you a target return on ad spend of 300%, and you run a Performance Max campaign, then effectively you're giving Google loads of creative and saying to Google, go out there and use this creative across YouTube, display, search, Google Discover, and structure it any way you want. But make sure that you are going to help convert and bring me new customers at least a minimum of a 300% return on ad spend.
Yeah, that sounds really good, especially when you think so many SaaS companies, they're often very technically orientated, but they haven't got that much of a savvy in regards to marketing, advertising, creative, and these things. They can program this stuff and build this stuff and do business logic and all these things, but when it comes to really advertising, they usually do need help from outside.
Yeah, I think so. I always advocate strongly for having an agency involved, even if the company has a marketing team, because an agency can help support that team and they can help fill in the gaps and help that team to be more strategic and to move faster.
Yeah, and when you think of it, an agency has one big advantage as well because they've got lots of different clients, different projects, so they can generate more knowledge, more insights that with the systems are constantly changing much faster than someone who's just doing one company and one product. You can, of course, much faster recognize certain trends, certain changes, and then you adapt it quickly. And it's not like reinventing the wheel 5 times to just adapt the wheel.
Right. That's a very good point, Christian. I think you could be on our sales team, perhaps, because a lot of people do think that the better approach is to have an in-house team, especially when you get to a certain size. But exactly as you said, an agency and working with multiple clients, you have a broader perspective on the market, and you can see trends at a higher level, and you can apply best practices from one project to another similar project, and that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, exactly, and that's in other areas as well. When you think of it, it's like in automotive, you've got the suppliers who build products for different suppliers. Even if it's a button for your window system and so on. If they're doing it for different manufacturers, they notice what the problem is. They have a much higher scale than the manufacturer of the car, for instance. The car manufacturers still produce a lot of cars, but they don't produce as many buttons as the button maker. So the button maker quickly notices this is useful, is not useful, and notice what's to improve. And with ads, I can imagine it's the same thing in the end. It's a huge scale that you're doing. And with the $20 million anyway, it's a huge amount. And you have the capacity of having all different skills and especially having a data science person who is now really fully immersed in the marketing field. I don't think that a normal company, whether it's a SaaS company, an industrial company, a manufacturer, whatever, they might have data science people in the finance department, but picking the right person, turning or let's say converting him and transferring him towards a marketing role will be very difficult if they haven't got anyone in there that has the knowledge and the skills that you've amassed with your team now.
Yeah, that's correct. I tend to agree with everything that you just said.
Yeah, so it was great having you here on the call and getting all those great insights with performance marketing, performance creative, data science, combining it as well with all the different options that we have in paid search, advertising, and so on. Paris, if people want to reach out to you and maybe have questions or anything, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. The best place would be LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me. Usually my first name is enough to search, and you'll probably find me. Paris at Hop Online is the name of our agency. And I also wanted to mention that the PLTV solution that we've talked about here today is something that we're very actively searching right now for partners who can beta test this with us. So if anyone listening is interested and you think that a predictive LTV as a conversion event for Google sounds cool and potentially very useful, then I'd love to talk to you. So please, let's connect over LinkedIn.
Exactly, because I imagine they can be even in other fields. It doesn't necessarily have to be SaaS. When you think of it, the options that you have, you could connect it with other kind of topics, but you then expand your data model. That would be quite interesting. So, yeah, that was really great. I hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Growth Zone show with Christian Bartsch. Thank you for listening. Please leave a review or rating here on iTunes or on podchaser.com. If you found the content helpful, then share it on social media, please. I would like to invite you to follow our show so that you don't miss the upcoming interviews with leaders in the market. Simply visit the website meetchrisbartsch.com. I will be adding the link into the description of this episode so that you just need to click on that link. On my website, you will also find the links to free templates. If you're looking for the books I have published on marketing, innovative technology, and sustainable business strategies, just simply click on publication to find my book list. The world is constantly changing in response to trends and events. As a business leader, you need to bypass the sandbanks that can hurt your performance. For those of you who are signing up to follow the show, I have reserved a few copies of my ultimate guide on content marketing and an ESG compliant cheat sheet. This is the strategy that got me top corporate clients like McDonald's, Linde, Hewlett-Packard, Deutsche Bank, Volvo, and many others. That strategy has been working for over 10 years and also got me contacts with police, transport authorities, military, and several universities, and even leading research institutes. For sure, it also worked wonders as it got me many small, medium-sized enterprises and international clients around the world. The link to sign up to our free broadcasting service and the guide is at meetchrisbarch.com. That will give you access to the most recent versions of my ultimate guide on content marketing. You can follow me on Twitter by using the Twitter handle capbarch. It's spelled CAPBARTSCH. Yes, that is CAP Barch, or spelled Charlie Alpha Papa Bravo Alpha Romeo Tango Sierra Charlie Hotel.